Thank you very much, fellow Africans, and welcome to today's episode of the Change for African campaign. Fellow Africans, being on Wednesday, it's about our third pillar of the Change for African campaign, a pillar by the name the resources that we own as an African continent. So therefore, fellow Africans, as we had begun our second part or our second half of the daily episode of the Change for African campaign, it's all about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in the African context, because we are Africans and Africa is our business, so we discuss Africa. And so therefore, fellow Africans, this afternoon, the very pillar, not pillar really, but the very goal that we're bringing for you, it's goal number 7, which states that they want to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. This is goal number 7 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals among the 17 goals of the United Nations, the UNSDG goals. There are 17 goals, so this is goal number 7. And so therefore, fellow Africans, some of the very reasons as to why these goals emerges as one of the very key goals when it comes to relating the resources we have as a continent, and how those resources can be part of problem solvers, or how those resources can help us to be able to achieve this goal. Remember, speaking about ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, modern energy for all. It's all about energy, and so that's why speaking about resources, speaking about energy in Africa, energy is a component that is acquired from different sources. Speaking in Africa, we have so very many sources of energy, and remember, we have sources of energy that actually they produce renewable energy, and we have those sources of energy that produce non-renewable energy, whereby this renewable and non-renewable energy, you have type of energy that actually they do not burn completely, or as this energy is produced, or as it is used in industries or the transport sector, they do emit some harmful emissions into the atmosphere, whereby these emissions are so harmful. So that is the non-renewable energy sources. But the renewable energy sources, these are sources of energy that actually the world is shifting towards making sure that becomes the order of the day, that every part of the world accesses the renewable energy, because it is environmentally, it is friendly to the environment. Meaning, when we speak about sustainable, it is whereby when we're using it, at the same time, it does not contribute to worsening the climate situation in Africa, because we're in Africa. But the non-renewable sources of energy, they're not sustainable, because when you use them, at the same time, they take part towards contributing to global warming and matters to do the climate change. So that's why the shift or the very main reason for this goal, goal that was adopted in 2015 by the United Nations, was to see that countries and continents are able to access use of clean energy, which are renewable sources of energy that do not hugely contribute to climate change and all sorts of global warming. And so that's why this is a very crucial role, because speaking about African sources of energy, we speak about sources like water, hydroelectric or hydro energy, whereby the type of energy that is generated from the water sources, so to speak. We speak about wind, wind turbines and how they generate energy. We speak about the geothermal type of energy. We speak about solar energy. These are all the sources of clean energy that Africa can embrace, because we do have immense of them. And if Africa is able to utilize these sources of energy that are immensely found in our continent, speaking about solar, Africa is actually in the region of the equator, because most of the African countries, the equator cut across, meaning that the weather of the solar energy is so high. That is solar energy. And many more sources of energy, because we have more than enough rivers and dams to be able to generate hydro energy, hydroelectric power. And we have enough wind along Africa. Speaking about the sub-Saharan Africa, speaking about the deserts in Africa, these are places whereby we have so many wind. So speaking about achieving this goal, Africa, actually, it's just a matter of time, but we have enough resources that are needed to be able to reach and actually attain this goal and be at a very good global stage as an African continent. And yeah, Africa is a land of so many resources that can be able to achieve most of these goals. So to speak, is that according to the UN, currently over 675 million people actually live in darkness. This one is about now energy that is involved in lighting our houses and streets and whatever. 675 million people live in darkness. That is globally, and actually most of these four out of 5 of these countries are actually in sub-Saharan Africa, meaning Africa is still a victim of energy, of lack of energy, and because actually more than 80% of this population is in Africa, meaning that Africa we still have a long journey to go. And putting in mind that why should we have such a long journey, and yet we have the resources, we have the requisite resources that are needed to be able to generate renewable energy, to be able to light our houses, to be able to run our industries. And also if the current trends actually continue, one in four people will use unsafe cooking systems. Remember that speaking, we have the heat, because energy is used in different areas. We have the heating part of it, we have the transport part of it, and we have the electricity part of it. And very critical areas, heat, only 10% of renewable energy is used for heating. Speaking about heating, maybe it's about cooking and all those sort of things, but only 10.4%. That is very minimal, because meaning that the other huge percentage are using non-renewable sources of energy or unsafe sources of energy for heating and all those purposes. Remember, because like heating, this is a way in which when you are used, whereby there is a direct contact, or there is a direct interaction or a very near interaction of with these sources of unsafe energy, meaning they also contribute to some health complications, speaking about heating. And then transport, only 4%. Remember, transport only 4%. And transport, actually, it's one of the areas whereby, speaking about going electric or having electric vehicles and electric motors, that is the reason why. Because remember, most of the vehicles currently and all those of the transport industry, they use non-renewable sources of energy. These are sources that contribute to emissions of harmful gases into the atmosphere, leading to what we call a global warming. And then we have electricity, whereby speaking about electricity, it's about 28.2%. At least it is high above the other. So the issue about resources, the issue about the goal number 7 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, it is a goal whereby Africa should actually be very far, but then it is not lost. But we still have that chance, we still have the potential to be able to utilize our immense resources as Africa, our rivers, the solar energy, speaking about the geothermal, speaking about the wind and wind turbines. All these are resources that can be able to make us adopt use of clean energy, safe energy, to be able to rescue the world. Remember, Africa should be the leader, and Africa is a land of great potential. Thank you very much, fellow Africans, and let's meet tomorrow. It's on Thursday, as we discuss about our 4th pillar of the Change for African campaign, about the living standards of our people in Africa. Thank you, and God bless you.